Can I count it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ha! Come on. Ha!
Manchester United 0, Liverpool 3. That is the final game of the preseason tour of the United States of America. And obviously really disappointing scoreline result for Manchester United. Doesn't really tell the full story of the game. But it's an interesting phrase, that, isn't it? It's an interesting saying, because you could argue that it does, that it doesn't. But you could also argue that it does, in the sense of the story that it does tell is a side that was far more clinical than the other, and didn't have any issue at all in putting the ball in the back of the net, which is precisely the opposite of what Manchester United were in that game. First 35 minutes is probably, I would say, like the best football Man United have played on the tour. Really, really good stuff. Really high pressing, high energy, winning the ball back in high areas. Really tenacious, aggressive, creating chances galore. And Manchester United just can't put the ball away. It's not clinical enough. I mean, that's the story of Manchester United's point of view, in terms of how we haven't scored a goal in that game. We created so many chances in the first half, created chances in the second half. McTominay was an absolute sitter, but particularly in the first half, I mean, after 30 minutes, Man United could have had 3 or 4 goals. Legitimately, I'm not even exaggerating. You know, it was Rashford had chances, Mason Mount had 2 opportunities too. And United looked really sharp and were playing some really, really good stuff. And then what happens is United don't take the chances, aren't clinical. And when you're playing a team that includes the likes of Mo Salah, who's one of the most clinical players in Premier League history, and also people like, Diogo Jota, who's a really, really clinical player, you're gonna you give them chances, they will score. And when it comes to Manchester United sort of defending, the goals that we conceded in the first half were really disappointing, really sloppy. I mean, the first one in particular, Aaron Wan-Bissaka gives the ball away. I think you saw the perfect encapsulation of the argument about Aaron Wan-Bissaka today. Hopefully he's not injured. He came off in the second half and was limping off and was down for a little bit. The last thing we need is an injury to jeopardise that move away and bringing in Mazraoui. But made a real good last-ditch tackle in the first half. And you go, that's Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Only he could pull that off. But also for the first goal, he gave the ball away. Maybe at points didn't look super comfortable on the ball. Tried to cross it into the box, overhit it, and you go, well, that's the conversation about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, isn't it? But it wasn't just him for that first goal. Casemiro got completely put on his arse, basically. And he was another one that had in the second half. Casemiro, you would have thought he was playing for Liverpool. He was only passing exclusively to black shirts, as opposed to red ones at one point, and he was just having a Casemiro game. It felt like it was kind of mad. So that was that. And then the second goal, maybe a bit naive once again from Harry Mass defensively, but I don't want to say that he had a terrible game, because I don't think he did. I thought he did well. He did okay. And going forward, he looked comfortable. Couple of defensive slip-ups, and all it takes is one in the Premier League against a player like Mo Salah. But he'll learn from that. He'll develop from that. And then it's a cutback, don't track the runner, they score. And you go into half-time 2-0 down, and you do say to yourself, like, man, they've had 2 chances, they've scored 2 goals, but you've got to be clinical. You've got to be clinical, because you allow the other team to stay in the game. Now, why weren't we clinical? Well, we don't have a striker on the pitch. Højlund's injured, Xerxes back at Carrington. You don't have a Bruno Fernandes, so there's certainly, I suppose, reasons you could put to that. But you still do expect more. Then once it gets into the second half, there are changes. Players get swapped out. I think Rashford came off at half time. As we've seen a lot of these preseason games, it kind of just peters out. But I think that obviously you'd be really, really disappointed with the result. Erik ten Hag, I think the biggest thing he'd be disappointed about would probably be, again, not taking the chances, not getting a goal. When you do look at the defence that kind of started, it was, Wan-Bissaka, Evans and Lindelof, who both came off at half-time as well. Harry Mass, that's not going to be Manchester United's back 4 next season, is it? So I don't know if you really learned too much from that, apart from what you already knew, which is when you've got those better defenders back, you would hope Manchester United defend a bit more resolutely. Andre Onana, I don't think had the best game. Don't think he covered himself in glory for a goalkeeper that you talk about his distribution so much. I thought his distribution was quite poor. Flapped it across, Probably should have done better on a third goal as well, which was offside, by the way, as well. Mo Salah would have been called offside in the Premier League for that one. But he doesn't parry it away enough. It's a tap-in. And it's a bit, again, a sloppy goal for United to concede. And then some other players came on. I said McTominay had an opportunity, should have scored. Bah, had to score. Anthony came on, didn't really do all that much. Probably Ahmad would be a bit disappointed with himself. Wasn't maybe as clinical as he would have probably hoped for. But I don't know if it was necessarily a 3-0 game. I certainly don't think it's worth the freak out that inevitably will come from the media and from some fans too. I don't think this is, Manchester United are terrible. It's going to be last season all over again. I just think it's a case of there were some encouraging signs, really encouraging signs with some of the intensity and the way that Manchester United played. But there are some aspects that still need to be worked on. Got to score goals. Hopefully that will be resolved when you've got strikers in the team and some of your best players back. I mean, think of the players we still do not have available in that team. The entire back four is probably going to be changed. You also then look at the midfield. I thought Collier did well, but let's face it, it's Kobbie Mainoo's position. You're then looking at Bruno Fernandes missing. You're looking at Alejandro Garnacho missing. Højlund injured. Xerxes back home. Let alone the other defenders that I didn't mention: Martinez, Yoro, Dalot, Shaw. So there's a lot to come into that. So again, it's pre-season. You can take parts out of it, but some parts you shouldn't get too carried away about because it's just that. It's only pre-season. So scoreline probably says a lot and will be disappointing. Erik ten Hag, of course, again will be disappointed with the goals conceded, and I think more so the goals, the goals that we didn't score, the opportunities to score that we didn't, but I think that we certainly did look a lot sharper in the first half, and I don't think it's a lot to freak out about or to get too overly carried away in the sense of this is it, we're screwed and we're gonna be awful. Still need more, still looking to get the Mazraoui deal done, and definitely need that centre back De Ligt to come in. Whether or not that gets done before the start of the season, I don't think De Ligt gets done before next weekend. Maybe Mazraoui does. But there's certainly food for thought. But I don't think it's necessarily a 3-0 game. I don't think it's necessarily this huge freak out. But there'll be learning points. And ultimately, look, we play Liverpool quite early on in the season, I think. And when we do, that's the match. Certainly, that does matter. That does count. So that wraps up the pre-season tour. Which, to be honest, I'm glad it's over because I'm glad just to get back. We don't need any more injuries. We can't have any more injuries. And when happened with Wan-Bissaka too, I thought, oh man, we had just completely snake bit. Shout out to Will Fish as well. He looked like he had a really bad injury. Got stretchered off, had a boot wrapped around his foot, and it was really unlucky injury too. It was Christian Eriksen's short pass, and he had to go into a tackle and came off worse actually. So really unfortunate for him. But there you go. That's the pre-season tour. And now we move on to Wembley. I'm out of here.